Welcome to Coffee and the Bull.
We get them all the time, and this is not just a law enforcement thing, but it's every job I've ever worked where I've got an email. They'll have their signature line is their name and then their title, and then I've had
every
single
certification underneath
thing
it.
that
Right,
they've
right.
ever done. It's like, okay, you're putting a lot in your name. You know,
Right.
To me, it bolsters a lack of confidence versus confidence. You know, but it's like you want everybody to look at you and see all the accomplishments you've
Right.
made. But at the same time, I know a lot of guys. I'm one of them, and so I kind of you attract people similar to yourself. But I've noticed a lot of guys. You can see this on Facebook when they go to get awards at work or different things or whatever. You don't see a lot of them smiling. Some of them will be smiling, depending on what the award is. But I know I don't like being in the spotlight.
Right.
Like I was talking to one of our coworkers the other day. I don't like being in the spotlight. I don't like getting awards. I don't like attention being on me. I had that part of my life. I'm not really looking for that anymore. Wasn't always like that though.
Right.
I don't like when I have to stand in front of people. I can stand in front of people and teach. Like I've done that before, or talk about different things in front of people. But I don't like standing there, everybody's eyes on me, and me just being congratulated for doing a good job.
Right.
I don't know why. I know I'm not the only one who's like that. But it's one of those things where it's like you start looking at why you're like that.
Telemarketer.
Interesting.
I don't know anybody in Odessa,
Interesting.
Illinois, so.
But I remember as a kid, I was a bit of a nerd in school. And I say a bit of a nerd, I was definitely a nerd. And I'm not talking about the computer whiz nerd. I'm talking about the nerd.
Dungeons and Dragons.
No. It wasn't like
You were quick on that. You're like, no.
I never played Dungeons and Dragons, believe it or not. But it was. I focused on having really good grades. I was stressed out, because
Right.
at the time, it was. They taught, hey, if you're going to ever be a success, you have to go to college. You got to get a degree.
Right.
You got to go to the best college. You got to do this and do that. So it was like I had focused on. I was like, all right, I want to go do this, and I think I want to be like an aeronautical engineer or whatever.
Right.
Missed it by that much,
What?
Yeah, I wanted that when I was in high school.
Hold on. How much
goal,
did you miss it by?
The very first college class I had, I changed my major because I was like, I can't do this. Week one, I was like, this chemistry, college chemistry is what did it for me. But back on track, in high school, going up every year you get awards, whether it's Beta Club, Honor Roll, this achievement thing or
I
whatever.
want you to know I have no idea what any of these awards
They make
are.
up a bunch of them, and even in graduation, like I walked out with plaques and all kinds of stuff, and that was a moment where, I had the cheese-eating grin, walking across the stage, chest poked out. I was a lot smaller then, so it was a lot smaller chest.
I've seen the pictures you
But
were.
walk across, and I wanted that moment to shine, right?
Right.
But in front of me, I had, graduation ceremony. I had college coming up, college graduation, getting into the job, getting promoted at the job, and all this other stuff. So I had milestones set in the future. Well, now I'm in, mid-30s or late 30s, and I'm looking at it, there's not a lot of milestones up ahead.
Right.
I'm in the career that I want to be in. I've done a lot in this career. I've done other things to know that, hey, this is where I want to be. I've got a successful marriage. My kids are doing good. So it's like I don't have a lot that I'm looking forward to, as far as maybe retirement or whatever. But it's you don't want to. I think that it's what leads into like the midlife crisis or something like that. Where you're kind of on autopilot. So now, when you get told, hey, you're receiving an award or whatever, you're like, okay, I'm receiving an award for doing my job. It's not. For me, it wasn't all that exciting. That being said, kind of like we talked about, you're expected for like we're taught, hey, you're expected to do your job. So you do your job. Why are you rewarding me for doing what I'm supposed to be doing in the first place?
Yeah.
Whereas if we take and we link up with your friend at work who does bass fishing tournaments, we don't know anything about bass fishing. Like
Right.
I know how to
Nothing.
throw, how to cast.
Yeah.
I don't know how to throw a bait caster, but I throw a fishing pole in there. Hit the button.
Right.
Watch the cork. That's all I'm doing. Like I'm a basic level fisherman.
It's funny
And,
you say push the button, because the last time I went fishing, which was decades and decades,
It
I
was a
mean
push button,
decades,
wasn't it?
it was always 100% a
Yeah.
push button, and
So
somebody
I'll
made
do
fun
the
of me.
open top ones or whatever. I like those more, but I know right
Yeah.
now
Somebody-
send it out, and I'm gonna try to bass fish with a cord.
Yeah.
That's a level bass
Yeah.
fisherman. That.
So somebody made fun of me because they were like, oh, you're using that push
Right.
button. I was like, first off, you think that I know anything about fishing?
Right.
I don't know nothing.
But if we were to go do a bass fishing tournament or whatever, and we won, we come in 5th place. I don't care. Look,
Right.
we're gonna be walking
I'm gonna
across
have the
there. I'm gonna be
biggest
strutting
grin.
like a turkey,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
field, just acting a fool.
Right.
Why is that? It's still an award,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's not something that was expected of you. Like you
Right.
would have worked for it. Whatever. Maybe
I think
learn
it's-
how fish swim in water. I don't know.
I think it's an above and beyond. Like we were talking about earlier, if I were to do it, to word it properly, and when I was in the military, the one thing I got told through boot camp was, shut up and sit down. And the drill sergeant that I had, drill instructor that I had, his name was Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Mann.
It's a lot.
It is. It's a lot. He wasn't even the worst. The worst one I had was Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Pena Mesa. That was a lot to get out as a 19-year-old kid who just learned that I can't say the word I ever. Like, you weren't allowed to say, hey, I would like to do this. You had to be like, this recruit needs to eat. It was terrible. So Senior Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Mann came and sat down, and I was pushing hard, man. I was trying to get, this award, and he sat me down and he said, recruit, I need to tell you something. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, I'm not telling you not to keep pushing. I'm not telling you to drive hard. I'm not telling you any of that. He said, but you're driving yourself to these feats.
Mm-hmm.
He said, they don't mean shit.
Right.
And I was like, what?
And I can piggyback on that. I received a bunch of awards in college or in high school.
Right.
As I was graduating, and up until that point, I was taught, hey, this is good. This, it's an award. So, man, my first resume or first job application, like when they're like, hey, you got any special skills or whatever, achievements or your certifications, whatever, bro, I put all kinds of dumb stuff I got, in the high school graduation on the thing. And I realized none of it mattered. Not the first one ever carried any additional weight. My employers did not care that I was on honor roll. They didn't care that I was in beta club for whatever however many years. They didn't care that I received a presidential award for this or that or some VFW thing or whatever. None of that mattered.
Right.
It was, are you going to be able to do the job?
Yeah.
I think so. Sounds good.
Right. We'll try you out till you fail.
And so it was a bunch of work for nothing.
Right. And so that was his thing to me was he said, look, when you get out of boot camp, and he told me, he said, you're not going to be amazing. You're not going to be, this top performer your whole life. Something's going to happen somewhere. Mm-hmm. And he said, the reason I'm telling you this is I started out the same way you did. I came in, I was gung-ho, and I wanted to be the top guy. I wanted everybody to look at me and see me shine. And he said, that's not going to get you through this Marine Corps. He said, that's not going to get you through life. He said, come in, do 110% of your job. Don't try to outshine everybody. Right. He said, now look, when you go do PT and you got to run, he said, you smoke everybody out there. He said, that's all you. That's 100% your performance. He said, but when you're in there and you're doing your job every day, just do your job. Just do your job. Because if you never fail at your job, you never get in trouble. He said, and if you are the guy that shows up every day and does his job to the point that everybody goes, he's got a big mouth, but damn it, that guy does his job. Mm-hmm. He gets it done. He said, you'll be able to do whatever you need to do and make achieve the goals you have in life.
Right.
Well, now 20 years later, I'm looking at it and I'm going, what do I need to achieve? I have a house. I've got kids. Sure, I don't have a significant other to the realm of a 15-year marriage, but it's at a point now where it's like, you that's where the lull comes in. That's where the, what's next to do.
Right.
Because society and life has told me all I have to do is provide, be a dad, be a significant other of worth, not a gambler, addict or whatever, and you'll be fine. Well, where's the success in that?
Right.
We've talked about the realization at this age in our lives, and it's, you realize that we're not going in history books. The things I've done that are noteworthy in my life really only apply to people who have either been on that path themselves, but in reality, nobody cares about places I've been. Nobody cares about wars I fought or anything like that. None of it applies today.
And I'll say that, not that I don't respect what you've done. And, being in law enforcement, a lot of the guys that we brush shoulders with day in and day out are prior military or something like that. And, they fall into that career. Y'all start talking about, hey, I've got this, this patch or that patch, or I've been to this school or that school or whatever. And I'm just sitting there like, bro, I don't care. Like, Like, not being rude, kudos to you for doing it
application
at the
to
time. But, it's got no application. I haven't been through it, and so.
Well, 10 years ago, me was a lot cooler than, me now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a, and I've done this to several people that we work with, when I see them with their, and I'm not going to go into all the craziness, but they say they have one badge on, and I know that I have a badge that's higher than that one. Mm-hmm. I make a joke and tease them that way. That's just a him and I thing. Nobody else around that circle can relate to it because they're like, man, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
But it's something that I've noticed lately, especially with Veterans Day just the other day, was everybody was like, oh, you don't rank or you didn't have this. I'm like, none of that matters.
Right.
Go pay your bill at Walmart with that. Go buy your groceries with your rank. Nobody cares.
Right. Well, and that's so. I remember when I got the first agency I was at, I was promoted to sergeant. I don't even remember how old I was at the time. I was maybe 30, 32, right there. So 30, somewhere around there. And I got promoted with a guy who had spent 20 years in the Navy, and was, I think, a master chief or chief.
Something like
chief.
that.
I think it was chief. Retired as a chief. We got promoted the same day, same time, same pay, same responsibilities, everything. I'm like, I feel like one of us probably has a little bit more leadership experience than the other.
Right.
Right. And it was all his achievements that he's had, prior to that didn't really weigh that much.
Correct.
But I think that's also why, as you see that over and over and over again, I think that's why you see guys, in their mid 30s, who they get an award at work. They don't like being up in the spotlight.
Right.
I don't like being in the spotlight, honestly. And this is just going to be, rather than speaking generically, I don't want people staring at me. And the reason I don't want people staring at me is because I think deep down it's got a lot to do with I don't want them to see my brokenness.
Right.
And that's where it circles back around to, we give the thing, hey, I'm fine. You stand up there, you grin it, you bear it, you take the award, and you walk away, and you're like, thank God that's over.
Right.
And it's nothing. And I will say this, it's nothing against an employer who's giving an award. Kudos to them for saying, hey, thank you for doing a great job.
Stop giving me an award, give me a pay raise.
Well, no, I'll say sometimes you can't.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
So you're trying to build morale, and I get it. You're trying to say thank you. So I understand that 100%. But man, I hate being in that spotlight, and I'm not the only one. I watch. Like we had an award ceremony that I went to, and I got called up. I hated every second of it, and everybody else who got called up, you could see they hated every second of it too. I wasn't the only one.
Right.
Now, granted, I will say this, and this is where God, we are sadistic people. When I got called up, all of my friends that were there were making fun of me because they knew I didn't like it. When they got called up, we were making fun of them because we knew they didn't like it. Like, there was no mercy. Like, we didn't receive any, you didn't give any.
Right.
And so I think that part's funny or whatever. But I think it all boils down to, none of us really want that recognition, we want recognition, but we don't want to be in the spotlight for it.
I think it also ties into, it's not that I don't want the recognition. This isn't the recognition I want, and this isn't from who I want it from.
That could very well be the case.
Right. So when I was married, the number one thing that made me feel the best in my marriage was when you came in, you'd been working on the car in the garage, or you had finished a project, or you did whatever. Even though it was only a split second feel good, it carried me throughout when she would come through and be like, hey, that looks good. You did a good job on that. It was mowing the lawn where it's like, I know I did a good job. But in the back of my brain, I'm like, she noticed. She paid attention. That's somebody important. The guy I work with, granted, the job I'm doing is, for the people I'm doing, it's a little bit different when they give me recognition because we're a smaller agency. It's a smaller group of guys, so it means a little bit more. But it shows me the difference in, I want the significant other that's going to recognize the little things I do. I don't need this big grandeur. Don't bring me a cake or anything like that. Just that, hey, thanks. That did good.
So, and this is where, we're kind of spitballing here. Again, this is not scripted. This is just,
Right.
us throwing stuff out there to relate to guys and show that, hey, you're not alone. And there was a time recently where I had to go, had to be dressed up at work, and she does this every single time. I love my wife to death, but sometimes if I could legally get away with it, I just want to strangle her. And it's not for her being mean. All right. I'm dressed up the other day, right? I had an event at work. And so I'm wearing the Class A uniform.
Full deck. Yeah.
Badges shined up, name tag shined up,
Looking crisp.
Oh, look, the shirt's looking good. The pants have a nice little
Crease in them.
Boots are shined up, looking. Granted, I didn't shine them as much as I could. Used to, I'd shine them where it was like a mirror. Now I was like, that's good enough.
Right.
But I'm looking good, like sharp enough to cut through concrete, right? And
that's a nice saying. I like that.
You like that?
I did. That was good.
So I get out and I'm by my unit, and Brittany comes walking up, and she goes, "Oh, look at you looking all good," and I'm shut up. I walked away.
Like he's a little bit embarrassed, but you're like,
a little
I
bit
know,
embarrassed. I'm like, I
know.
still got it.
Right.
What they call it, Riz or whatever. No, I ain't got none of that. But man, I had my hair done, beard trimmed up, and everything, and I know, like I was feeling good, I was looking good until she's like, "Ooh, look at you," and she just embarrassed me. But it was the same thing. Like my dad had me go to an event with him a couple months ago, and it was like a charity event type thing or whatever, and it was he said it was black tie, and so he calls me. I want to say the day of, hey, you want to go to this thing tonight? I'm like, well, I guess so.
Oh, I remember
what
that.
I need to wear, and so I go through scrambling. I go get some some slacks out of the closet or whatever. I ain't warm, and since I had a job interview,
Right.
Had a blazer that I've worn 1,000 times. Start throwing everything together, put a little bow tie on, do my hair and all this other stuff.
You and your bow ties.
And I'm talking about I'm might as well be James Bond coming out of the back room or whatever, like just looking, or feeling good or whatever. And
Right.
she does that. She goes, "Oh boy, you better stop it." It's one of the things where, even then, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
But
Because we're not
it's
used
funny.
to it.
Yeah. She doesn't do that all the time.
Right.
Somehow when I'm wearing the holy blue jeans and a raggedy shirt, that's
Right,
got
you ain't
paint
got
on
it.
No, she ain't interested in me at all.
Right. But see, that's what I'm saying is it's for us, when you stop complimenting that significant other, when she does her hair different, or she does something a little different with her outfit or whatever, and you don't notice, all of a sudden we're a bad guy.
Notice they cut 1/4 of an inch off their hair.
Right.
Like I go to get a haircut, my head looks completely different.
100% different. I look like I showered with holy water.
Right.
Like when I get a haircut, like you're not gonna notice anything else. Like 1/4 inch off my hair. Man, I think my barber would laugh at me. But on the flip side of it, when you get down to it, nobody ever comes by outside of your male heterosexual friends. Nobody comes by and goes, "Oh, you look good today." Because I know we do it. I know we do it all the time. And it makes me laugh that you and I will go back and forth, or we'll mess with somebody else. It just back and forth about, teetering that line. But the minute your wife is like, "How you doing?" You're like, "Ooh,
Stop
stop
it.
it, stop! I'm exposed." It's like it's funny to me because that's where we want those compliments to
right.
come from, but we're so unused to getting them that we don't know how to react to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I know when I look at a significant other and I'm like, "You look good today. You do something different." Like I know where my brain is at. So when we get it back, you don't know where their brain is at. You know what I mean? Like we are as men, the way that society has built us and around us, we're occasions.
Right.
We're not daily observations. And I know that this sounds a little confusing at first, but if you look at the way that society has structured women, okay, as far as like we recognize them on Valentine's Day, we recognize them on their birthdays, we make sure Christmas is good for them, we make sure that Mother's Day comes through, because God help you if you didn't come through on Mother's Day. Father's Day, we're getting socks, maybe a tool,
Yeah.
maybe a tie.
Well, and so I think that's more of a generalized thing because I will say this: my wife does really good, even though I've been kind of mean to her in the past.
Right.
But
I don't mean
she's hit all those
right,
you know,
right.
she'll hit all the things, and she does a good job of making me feel wanted.
Right.
I will give her that.
But look at society as to how they do it, right? Like what do you remember every gift you ever got your dad for Father's Day or how
To be
big of
honest
a
with you,
deal it
I
was?
haven't got him a lot.
Right.
You know?
So I can tell you right now that the number two way that I knew that my marriage was over was when she forgot my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean like forgot the whole day, like the whole birthday. And it was like I don't really jump to celebrate my birthday. It's just not something that I'm overly pleased with. It's not even the fact that it's another birthday, whatever. It's just that in my life, bad things have always happened on my birthday. Being in combat, it's gonna happen. But it's not something that I go about. It's not on my Facebook profile. I make fun of my dad because I'm his only son, and he doesn't know when my birthday is. Love him to death. He knows it's at the end of a month. Like that's where he's at. But forgets the whole birthday. Her birthday, we had a treasure hunt. We had a treasure box. We had a 3-foot by 4-foot card.
Right.
Like whole nine. Kids were in on it. Like it was a big deal. Father's Day wasn't. It was overlooked. Father's Day, I got told Happy Father's Day 3 days late. And then my birthday came around, which is shortly after, and I'm like halfway through getting ready for work, and I just kind of looked over and was like, all right, well, I'm going to go to work. You guys have a great birthday. That's how I left it, because I was like, you going to forget the whole day. I mean,
Right.
might as well tell you happy birthday since it's not my birthday. And that was like one of the phases where I was like, this is done. Like, how do you forget somebody's birthday? Right. And that's where it put me in the tailspin of I'm going to be lost because I know what I have to do. I know that this is coming to an end, and I know that I've got to redirect myself. And I don't even think that she realized that I had already checked out at that point, which is from life experience that I knew that I'm going to have to make a lot of changes. And in doing that, I'm going to disrupt my autopilot.
Right.
And that's what brought me out of that. It was like, everybody looks at divorces and everything else as a bad thing. And I'm not sitting here saying that my divorce was, a cakewalk.
Right.
It had its ups and downs, but it's a realization that it's the little things of attention and notice and somebody just going, your presence matters to me enough for me to remember these specific details. I'm just staring at him like, how are you laying like that, bro? But it's those things that put us in that comfort zone.
Right.
And when we stop getting them and it gets uncomfortable, that's when we get into that scary place where it's like, it's not dangerous for the world.
Right.
It's dangerous for us.
Right.
Because you realize in those moments I'm alone, and it's mostly my fault.
Right.
It's not, I'm not a victim of anybody but myself, and that's the biggest thing is that we're not victims.
Right.
And
that's what a lot of social media posts make us out to be. Oh,
Right,
nobody
right.
ever asks, when's the last time you asked your boyfriend, how he felt or whatever. Well, nobody ever does. Okay, and while I get that's a
True statement.
true statement, the guy's not a victim in that.
Right.
Because also